Due to recent audio events, Spotify has notified us that the previous 3 episodes have been vacated. Despite that, we're still expecting your vote at this fall's Podcast Hall of Fame banquet in Hoople, North Dakota. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by future podcast audio Hall of Famer Kevin Greck and the future podcast listener guest Hall of Famer Alex Plum. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Jonesy, in the hallowed halls of the Podcast Hall of Fame, where do you think the listener guest wing is? Is it sort of like off one of the bathrooms or something like that?
Like the Heisman house?
There's an annex somewhere for sure.
Sort of the in-law suite, the casita in back.
Yeah, it's above a garage somewhere. Yeah.
But like how if you go to a Hard Rock Cafe, they have like Bowie's jumper from like Ziggy Stardust era or something on the wall. Plum's shirtless tank Plum's tank top is going to be sleeveless. That's what I wanted, not shirtless. I was hoping for shirtless.
Yeah,
sleeveless tank top will be on the wall, enshrined for all eternity in the listener guest Hall of Fame, I'm sure.
This is great. Great.
Right next to the kimono. And the ironing board.
I have a lot of entries. I just think that it's a certain panache that we give the podcast universe. So you're welcome. You're welcome, everybody.
Come basketball season, the ironing board and kimono will make a
will
comeback.
return. They will absolutely make a return.
Well, of course, we want to thank everyone for listening. And if we could ask a small favor, please share the pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. And of course, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Spartan_pod. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead, give the show a like, leave us a comment. Tell us what you think Plum's Hall of Fame apparel should be. And for that matter, Greck's, the bigger question. All right. Who wants to tell the listeners what we're going to talk about this week? Someone volunteer. Plum, you're in.
Okay, I'll do it.
That's not how volunteering works at
all. We will lead off behind the green wall where football still leads, especially when you're 2 months, 2.5 months, 2 months and 2 weeks away from the beginning of it. We've got commits. Just 3, but we're trending in the right direction. We'll talk about that. Then we'll head over to Michigan State men's hoops. We got Moneyball approaching. 2. Sorry, you're right. 2, not 3. Anyway, we'll talk about Moneyball. We'll head off Grand River. A lot of weird things happening, not least of which Les Miles tripping over his own penis just to get back into the headlines. Finally, we will take your Twitter questions where we will hear some rankings for our second week of the competition before we head into week 3, judged by yours truly.
Packed show. All right, let's head behind the green wall, and we'll go in chronological order here. Football, obviously going to lead. 2 commits picked up this week. Charles Taplin, wide receiver out of Red Oak, Texas. 3-star recruit, and he's 6'1", 160, I believe is a pretty speedy dude, if I recall correctly. But the offer list is fairly comparable to some of what we've been seeing thus far. Does anyone have it up? I don't want to just read schools. If someone else wants to read schools.
No, read the schools. Give us the peer group. Come on.
All right. So we're going to get real excited about an Arizona offer and a Washington State offer because they're doing the Lord's work on this one.
What is the Washington State? Where do they land conference wise? Are they still the pack? There's fewer schools than there are letters in the name of the conference.
Hey man, it was in a conference. Otherwise, you've got to go to your Arkansas States, your Delawares, your Fordhams, Louisiana Tech, Navy, North Texas, Sam Houston State, I'll take a San Diego State, take a Tulsa, and a UTEP.
Sure.
So that's what we're looking at for Charles Taplin. But I think, as we said last week, they're closing on the guys that they want to close on. And so they're taking the commits now. And Courtney Hawkins did signal on Twitter that this would be the last wide receiver commit of this class. So Hawkins is done recruiting.
Moving on to other recruiting targets.
Moving on to the 26s, it sounds like, which that unlimited contact period just opened up. So, yay!
Speaking of dudes that catch the ball, there's also a tight end commit, Mr. Jaden Savure, out of Orchard Lake St. Mary's, where we've had tremendous success recruiting over the years. He is, according to his image, the number one tight end out of the state of Michigan. That makes him the 17th player overall, according to 24/7. And his comparables on the offer list are a little bit more impressive. You got your Northwesterns, your Penn States, your Purdue's, your West Virginias, your Wisconsins, your Indianas. Coach Sig wants him. So a little bit more pedigree there on the list. And a guy that's already 6'6", 220 at this point in high school. So someone to be excited about.
And had a Yale offer. Don't sleep on that. Not a dum-dum.
Yeah, very exciting.
So, and that, I believe, also wraps up tight end recruiting for the class, bringing us to 2 tight ends. So, and the teams to beat in this were BYU and Duke, were either the last visits that he took or was scheduled to take. I forget if he took them or not. So wanted to sort of take as we're in the middle of summer heat and official visits are coming to a close. Maxwell Klitsky, great follow on Twitter, tweeted out that as of this point in time in the class of 2023, Mel Tucker and company had 5 recruits. As of this time, Jonathan Smith is at 9. I think this sort of speaks to what we talked about last week, which is they're taking bodies. And so obviously a widely different approach as it comes to the kinds of athletes they're targeting or the rankings that they're targeting, but all the same, filling a class out, and you need bodies. And we've seen enough of these, I think, lower end recruits hit in the past that some of these guys are going to play for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully at a high level.
Yeah. Right, Plum? Right? That's reliable. We can count on that.
The most reliable source, in fact.
High school recruiting.
Right. Let's chat some Moneyball, shall we?
Yes, please.
So Moneyball's coming up. I believe it starts the first week of July. With the freshmen all moved in now, I thought it would be worth chatting about sort of a preview of what everyone's actually interested in and what you don't care about, because if there's something exciting coming out of Moneyball, it's bullshit. So I don't know. Anyone got anything that they're actually interested in hearing about coming out of Moneyball?
Well, I mean, there's actually more, I think, than usual, right? Because we've got 2 transfers. We've got a pretty good sized freshman class. And we had a dude that got shot in the leg finally coming back, and maybe we'll get to see him for the first time since that happened. So as much BS as Moneyball is beyond just sort of like getting to show off in the gym over there, there is actually a fair amount to keep an eye out for, I think, this year. Much more than usual.
I think that's right. I would add to that. I'm very interested to see to what extent is this team really Jaden Akins. We talked about this last week a little bit. Tom saying that this is Akins' team, and so I'm curious to see the kind of leadership cues that come out of this. Jaden Akins, fears, others rising to the fore. I don't know how much you see right now in any of that, but just another Another Q.
What do you got,
I guess
Jonesy?
if you saw Akins doing, if Akins was putting on a dominant performance, that would be intriguing to me because I think we know enough about Jaden Akins that he's not going to be your vocal leader. But when Tom talks about it being Akins' team, that in all likelihood, what he means is like it's your time to shine, right? So it'd be nice to see a dominant performance out of him. I'm with Greg. If Jeremy Fears plays, I don't care what his shooting looks like. I'm not going to buy that until it's in a game.
Mm-hmm.
But just his movement, his speed, his vision, to see that all come back will be a big deal. And I will say, Cohen Carr, does he take some jump shots? Truly.
No, dude. It's Moneyball. It's all dunks. It's nothing but dunks all of the time. Why? That's the most dunk time of the year, and you want Cohen Carr taking shots from further away? No!
That's what I want.
Pure dunk time. That's what the people want. That's what Cohen will give them.
Give it to
I
them.
don't care about that stuff.
I would respect the hell out of Cohen Carr if he refused to dunk and only did pull-up jumpers the entire
people
time.
would understand that that's happening, and they would just gather up their things and leave the gym over the course of those games. Yes. No. Just give us dunks, Cohen. Dunks.
And otherwise, I don't know. It'll be interesting the freshmen play, but I think generally speaking, I don't think we needed any of the freshmen to fill a void from last year's team, right? People on the roster, you're sort of looking for them to step up into the lost production. So, it'd be cool to see that some of them are maybe competent, but I'm not reading too much into it at this point in time. So, I guarantee there's going to be something about Jace Richardson or Kurtang being ready to be major contributors.
Yeah.
I don't think so. They're freshmen.
Yeah. And as we've stated, don't put high expectation on freshman guards. And
more to the point. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's head off Grand River, shall we? Do we want to first say a kind word about our favorite eatery?
Yeah.
Who's
eating there last?
It's got to be Kevin, I think. Kevin G.
I think it's me.
It's you.
So the podcast turns to me when it comes to the subject of food, as it always does. But what interests me, I think, more about it this week is we were told multiple can't read, can't write, 10% off utterances were made, right, Plum? We got several there. And then listener Mike Jones stopped in and was even like, I don't even need it.
Yes. I want to pay full price. That's it.
He said, put another 10% on top of it for me. So, things are really taking off at Mama's Mercantile and Eatery. We're excited about it. It's going to get to the point here where they've forgotten about us and they just sort of, do their own thing. But in the meantime, we're going to ride those coattails to the top, as well you should. Next time you're in the I-94 corridor around Grass Lake and you think, I could use a little something. And I can't make it to Jackson. Because, truly, what's in Jackson? What are you going to eat in Jackson?
And the off-ramp there is such a pain to,
it's
navigate.
Confusing. It really should be a roundabout.
It should. So, you got that. If you're going westbound, it becomes just a barren wasteland. You going to stop in Albion? No, obviously not. Unless you're stopping in Albion for some other things, whatever that might be. So definitely just do your stomach a favor, stop in Grass Lake, Mama's Mercantile and Eatery, and get yourself 10% off, as so many others already have by mentioning the podcast.
Yep, that's right.
And speaking of listener Mike Jones, I'm going to continue to plug the Sun Beach whiskey, Bonfire Cinnamon.
You love it.
It is delicious. We're not drinking the other cinnamon whiskeys anymore until we do.
That's right.
So this is the one. Get yourself this beautiful bottle. It's delicious. All right, let's head off Grand River, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So someone added a note here about Ashton McCullough.
Yeah, it kind of starts with a gentleman who was on Grand River and then took a little stroll temporarily off of it to the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. Ashton McCullough, MSU golf sophomore. He was one of 16 amateurs that were invited. Unfortunately, shot a 75, missed the cut. But we did tune in very briefly to see him on the cock itself, which is still $20. So everyone can get that for the full year right now. Do that for yourselves. And he made a great approach, a little chip, went right in the hole. And Mike Tirico gave a go green, go white on the broadcast, which we love, even
Love
if it's
that.
from Mike Tirico.
Yeah, could be better.
Not a sincere go green, go white, but still will accept
it's
it.
not. Yeah.
So yes, the Kingston, Ontario native, of course, previously won the Canadian Amateur, only a sophomore at MSU. But a lot to look forward to. I mean, men's golf continues to be on the come up, and it's great to see guys on the team in these big tournaments having these big opportunities.
Next up, the cold open alluded to it, but Les Miles has filed suit against LSU and the College Football Hall of Fame, and I believe somebody else, it doesn't really matter, over the fact that LSU vacated some of his wins as a result of violations he made at the time, which obviously in today's day and age wouldn't have mattered, and that cost him a spot in the Hall of Fame. Les Miles.
You cheated. You're a cheater who cheated by cheating, and therefore you get nothing. Good day, sir. I don't fucking care. I mean, this is the thing. It's just those are the rules that everyone else agreed to, and you just didn't think they applied to you. Fuck all the way off. Fuck off. Fuck off. So that's where I feel.
Jonesy, can you check the lawsuit? Named in it is also, I believe, the snitch that told on him about all the flirting that he was doing with female staffers.
This is good.
And of course, snitches, that can't be in consideration either when he creates a hostile work environment. So it's a poor Les in all of this. Like truly poor Les.
Yep.
Also, then Les Miles went and coached other places and sucked.
Yeah.
So, win more, dude. I don't know. So yeah, sorry, Les. Don't care.
Remember when he was going to be hired as the Michigan head coach, but he couldn't be because Michigan's athletic director was, I guess, on a fishing trip during the time that they were supposed to be hiring him, and it was a big disaster and wild, absolutely wild. This man, his entire career, known best for eating grass before every game and also making work conditions uncomfortable for the women on the staff. So
I do respect that Michigan had an athletic director, though, who subscribed to the John L. Smith School of Schedule Management, and so I get that. I think something that we're all a little but we won't do the woe is me about college sports, but Big 12 coming out with two pieces of big news. One, interest in taking private equity money in exchange for some conference assets, and then also selling their naming rights. It sounds like they're in conversations with All-State to be the All-State 12 conference. The Big 12 is, I think it's fair to say, uniquely positioned as a conference in that it still has teams that I think aspire to compete in the same sphere as the Big Ten and the SEC, but does not have the same media rights deal. so doesn't have the same cash flow. All of those schools are probably $50 million a year behind, their Big Ten counterparts. So I say that as for context building about, I don't want to call it empathy, but like understanding the perspective of the Big 12, which is if they want a seat at the table in whatever this new universe is, they're cash strapped in a way that the other two conferences are not. So
great. So sell the soul, Big 12. Sell the soul.
All the way down the river. Yep, nothing matters. Fuck it.
I do truly want to know what the plan is for private equity to get out. Like, if they're going to put up the cash for a 25% ownership, do they have the ability to sell it?
They can't buy ownership because they're a not-for-profit. So they can only have a stake in the assets, which is a kind of an important distinction.
Okay. Walk me through it. Give it to me in Star Wars.
It's Star Wars? I don't understand that.
It's a 30 Rock reference that truly no one will understand.
So I assume that the assets they're talking about are their revenue streams, right?
Yeah.
So a stake in their TV partnerships, a stake in their all-state naming, right? Like, but they're not capable of being a part owner of the conference. That's not to say, though, that to your point about what sort of will and might they'll be able to flex on the conference to what PE does and strip it for parts if you need to, or worse, probably even further commercialize it. Like, don't debate there, but they're not going to sell the conference or take portions of the schools and send them to a different conference to get out. Like, they won't have that kind of might.
Right.
So
I was talking more about like what happens if it's 25%. What happens to that 25% once private equity wants out? Do they have the option to sell?
Do they get it? Right.
It goes to another private equity firm. Like, you can't go public. Is 25% of the Big 12 going to be, traded on the New York Stock Exchange? That I don't think that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what this implies, not just in the immediate term, but the long term, I think is so myopic and such a massive mistake that I expect the Big 12 will do it as soon as they possibly can.
It feels like the sort of thing the Pac-12 would have done back in the day.
Yeah, if they could exist anymore. That's right.
Okay. Let's. I'm going to skip ahead on the outline, and we'll come back to some other judicial news. But the MSU has spent more money on an investigation to find out that Chairperson Vassar did, in fact, flip the bird in a virtual meeting. Thank God we got to the bottom of that one.
Is that becoming conduct of a of a member of the board of trustees? Help me out here. I can't decide. I'm not sure.
I think what's bothersome to me about it is that it is on the list of things that she's done. It is so far down on the list.
Yeah.
Like, this is of no consequence, truly. And the fact that our representatives and our governor have not acted, who cares about this?
Yeah.
She's sort of Trumpified herself. She's already done something way worse, so like none of this matters. She set the bar here, and everything below that is nothing now.
It's irrelevant. Yeah, I think they've sent this information over to the governor's office. Again, just a reminder, if you haven't contacted the governor yet, demanding that she use her lawful constitutional authority to, at least the next time the legislature is in adjournment, to strip Vassar of her power, she should do so, and quickly, please. This is very silly. It's just unbecoming. It is more millions of dollars being spent by our university on investigating itself for its own stupid fucking behavior. What is going on? Also, who flips anybody off like this? It doesn't make sense. It is objectively stupid looking. You look so fucking stupid, you dumb fucking idiot. And the excuse that she just uses her middle finger all the time to adjust her hair and to scratch her eye and to fix her headphones and to adjust her microphone is so. The investigators went and poured over hours and hours of every previous Zoom recorded call and can find not one instance of her using her middle finger for anything. It's just like, this is what an investigation is, you stupid fucking idiot. Fuck.
Yes.
Wow.
So, Governor Whitmer, please, I know this is on your desk now. Unless you mean to tell us that you can't find a better candidate to fill that seat. Unless you don't have that in the Rolodex, someone that meets these requirements, it does seem like it's time. So, there are 2 spots that you should be fixing. 2.
And
doesn't have to be 1. It can be 2.
Kevin Greck is available. Truly, just down the road.
Yep, he's close to home.
And when you announce it, you can say future podcast audio Hall of Famer Kevin Greck will be joining the MSU Board of Trustees. And he will have the council of listener guest Hall of Famer Alex Plum, whose sleeveless shirts you may have seen in the Hall of Fame men's bathroom.
I cannot imagine the reaction if you replaced Rima Vassar. That would go over.
It would go really well.
So well.
It would go really
What could go wrong? What could ever go wrong?
No one would have any notes. Comically unaccomplished white man replaces Rima Vassar.
I mean, just the routine, like, hey, okay, we want to turn to Kirk now. Kirk Grant? I think Kirk Grant, you're up. Whatever you have to say.
And I'd be like, not the worst I've been called. And it would just be crickets in the room.
But he has a podcast.
Crickets.
Yeah, like I said, white man.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing here on the outline is Terrence Shannon Jr. has been found not guilty of sexual assault and rape in the case that took place in Kansas. I think not looking to opine on the verdict. I don't think there's anything. The jury found him not guilty, and that is what it is based upon what I've heard from the case and what I've read from the evidence presented. I don't know that there was much other conclusion you could probably come to in that particular case. But I do think there's 3 things worth talking about. One, what high-profile cases like this do to the vast number of other cases that take place all the time. There's the component of this that is what Illinois should have done or did, and whether that was right or wrong. And I guess, well, let's leave it there for right now. So I see a lot of reactions to the verdict suggesting that there should be punishment wrought on the woman who brought the claims.
Yes.
That feels bad for a variety of reasons. Does anyone want to step in here?
I mean, that puts a blanket dampening effect on all women that would potentially come forward for the, as you pointed out, Jonesy, vast majority of cases where, in fact, there is a reasonable claim. So that's not acceptable, obviously. And then, of course, there's the fact that, yes, there's the evidence suggested in this case, but you never actually truly know. So it's not entirely...
He was found not guilty.
Truly.
That's not
Correct.
To say that he was found innocent, and that's not to say he's also not innocent. But like the way criminal trials work, it's worth remembering: it's guilty or not guilty. We don't make declarations of innocence.
A lot was played up in this trial about the use of a certain emoji. That emoji is the one with dollar signs on the tongue and eyeballs. Apparently, the survivor of the alleged incident, assault, as it were, texted her friends or something in a group text about they finally got him, something, and then that emoji. And this, of course, came out at some point upon discovery. I don't really know how that was introduced into evidence, but it was somehow. And that, of course, as you would expect, severely undercut her
Credibility.
case. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. I think that there are a lot of interpretations. I think the prima facie interpretation is quite damning and was certainly compelling, probably in the finding of not guilty. I mean, I think it probably introduced enough doubt that.
Plus, with the no DNA.
Well, more to the point, not just no DNA, but the presence of other people's DNA is, again, this is, we have so many subjective, he could have had a condom on. There's no reason why. And that doesn't mean anything. She could have been sexually active with other partners and still been assaulted by him.
Yeah. But the question is, was there reasonable doubt?
And that's the point. And so you have the emoji, you have no DNA. It becomes very, very, very hard. And I guess, I think that this is the difficulty of the world that we're living in. And this young woman, I mean, I don't know her identity. I imagine most people don't know her identity. I hope it stays that way for her sake. But there's a lot of risk in the world. I'm not counseling anyone to do or not to do anything. I'm just naming the reality here. If you don't have evidence and then you've got your friends and you're communicating in these ways, this doesn't make you not a victim or a survivor of this. And this isn't a reason to or not to seek charges. These are all complicating factors that inform so much of the reality that news media, the justice system, it's what works about it and what fucking doesn't work about it, and how you're going to be dragged. I mean, this is terrible. And if this didn't happen, Terrence Shannon will live for the rest of his life with this mark. This is indelible for him now. Not that it may matter in many ways, but we'll always remember. So I don't know. I mean, it's just a terrible, terrible fucking thing.
In the same way that we remember about Juwan.
100%.
And so, yeah. And I guess I would just remind folks that there is a crime already on the books. You can't file a false police report. There are, I don't know Kansas's laws, but I am certain there are laws relating to abusing the judicial process, wasting prosecutorial resources, not to mention that as the accuser, she would have had to have testified. Well, I guess she doesn't have to, but I assume she testified in this case. It's pretty hard not to. She would have had to sat yes, because the defendant has the right to face their accused. So, there's a lot that goes into it, and that would have required her perjuring herself. Right?
Yeah.
That's all to say that this idea that merely because he was found not guilty, that there should be justice wrought on her now is foolish. The police and prosecutors chose to pursue this case, even if maybe there was evidence to suggest that they shouldn't have, but they did. That said, I want to turn it now to Illinois. I also don't know that Illinois did anything wrong in suspending him when they did. Now, I know he sued to get himself back, but I don't know successfully. And now you're looking back on it in hindsight with this not guilty verdict and saying, well, what were they doing? But I think it's silly to look at the suspension as a punishment. He's been accused of a very serious crime that's worthy of his attention, and you have to hold yourself accountable to a whole team. When he got himself back in, he was facing no means no chance every night from every student section.
Well, this is this I remember this conversation. We had this on the pod, and I think that I staked out a position that was, I don't think that the suspension was probably all that wise. I mean, I named, like, there's a difference between a classroom suspension or taking remedial steps to ensure that perpetrator, survivor are not, or alleged are not in areas where this true additional harm could take place. But he's a student athlete on scholarship, and now there's all this NIL stuff, which is horrible, but it exists. It's unlikely that she was. I'm just rehashing or restating what my position was at the time, which was just like, she doesn't have to go to basketball games, and there's not this. If that's an area where he's going to be performing, and maybe she's got areas where she gets to do things.
She was in Kansas, so it wasn't even. They weren't even in the same state.
So, but that's my point.
I don't know, Plum. If we had a basketball player that went to Columbus, Ohio, and there was an accusation, and the district attorney in Ohio chose to pursue that case, charges against an MSU basketball player. We'll just keep it all apples to apples. It would be your position on this podcast that student athlete should continue to participate in team activities when there are pending sexual assault charges against him.
Well, I mean, let's sub out sexual assault and let's put in any other number of crimes. And I'm not trying to create a false equivalency, but I think it's worth pointing out. Murder, probably murder, maybe. I don't know. I mean, obviously, here's the thing. Pending charges implies evidence. Yeah, maybe pending charges is the litmus test. An arrest maybe implies evidence, but there wasn't an arrest, as I recall. And there
was probable cause charges. I mean, the same standard for making an arrest is the same standard
existed. Okay.
Yeah.
But I will also point out to you that not all prosecutors act faithfully. And we can see very well what happened with the tunnel incident against certain players of ours and overzealous prosecutorial authority. And some are probably claiming now, and maybe, I don't know, maybe not incorrectly, that this prosecutor in Kansas was quite overzealous, having zero of the fucking evidence and clearly not doing any witness or accuser prep in terms of how to comport oneself so as to not lose all credibility. My only point here is the justice system works in the way that we agree in this society it works. And we can change the law if we want, or we can rewrite the Constitution. And those are insurmountable changes that we've lived with for 250 years. It's probably not going anywhere. We protect the rights of the accused. That's what we do. That's the contract we have. And the classroom universities are an extension of society. We already do a lot. We do a lot to create safe spaces and to protect survivors, victims, individuals who make accusations, particularly on college campuses. We do a ton. Maybe there's a contextual difference here because Illinois and Kansas are states apart. Maybe this is a stronger case if this is an on-campus issue versus not. But my point to you is, I don't think that most people lie. I don't. I think most people are telling you the truth, as certainly as they remember it. And so I think 9 times out of 10, that's probably the right decision to make. And but at the end of the day, if they've done something and they're going to be convicted of it, whether or not they played 4 games or 5 games or 6 games, in the scheme of things is going to be irrelevant. They're going to be off the team. Their reputation will be shattered. They're probably going to be out of the university. They're probably going to go to jail. So I guess justice delayed is still justice served. It doesn't make it easy, but part of this is life. Part of this is that we're going to go through life. We're going to experience horrible injustices. We can't fix everything. And we have some core tenets of the justice system that I think are worth bearing out. So I don't know. I know that's not a lovely answer, and I don't know that I stand by it all the time, but I think this is certainly an example of a reason why that argument has real cachet and should be taken seriously.
I guess I probably would draw the line at, if you've been accused of a felony of violence against another human being, whatever the kind may be, robbery, for instance, right? Like also felony violence or threat of violence, then I'm more than comfortable with the idea that you shouldn't be
So let me say this.
You're not even a benefit to the team at that point in time.
And you're probably right.
I mean,
and that might be
Terrence
it.
Shannon
So-
was still a material benefit to the team. This is
To
the
the team,
only
that's right.
place
That's
where I
right.
disagree with you, Jonesy, is we can go look at the stats. Like
Yeah,
he was
he was
a
a benefit.
material benefit to the team.
I know.
But so then let's let the NCAA or the conferences make that rule, and then I have no problem with it. Just make the rule, make and set and enforce a common standard, and I think that's a
great
good one. I don't have
because
fine.
then it's
Fine.
not a state actor. Like then it's which is how this all came to be, dear listener, is that Illinois, being the university of the state, was a state actor, and so is thus held to different standards than a private entity is.
Correct.
So,
And also, this came to be that now, because of NIL and the way that players are being compensated, it's now impacting their livelihood when they are suspended. So it used to be that teams would suspend players all the time. For whatever they wanted to suspend players for. And I can't wait until this is challenged for academic reasons as well, by the way, which is going to come.
Yeah.
And then it's just going to just put the final little death knell in the whole thing.
Remember Kenny Willekes' brother? He got in a bar fight, kicked off the team.
Yep.
And Plum, I understand, and I think to a degree I agree with you, but I also think that we've been consistent on this podcast, and I think I'd prefer to be consistent that college sports is supposed to be a privilege. I know that is sort of a pearl clutching take. I'm looking directly into camera right now. And if you were accused of, as Jonesy was saying, violence against another human being, I think that's a good way of saying it.
I think that's a
Michael.
great standard.
I'm not interested in having you in participating in team activities for my university at the very least. And I think in the case of the tunnel in Michigan, we were consistent that they deserved to lose time with the team. They didn't deserve to wear the green and white in those subsequent weeks. But the issue that we took was with the district attorney there and the prosecutor
of criminal charges was
in Washtenaw
ludicrous.
County for someone that was, these are elected officials, and someone that their platform was about restorative justice, and they were not extending that in this case. So I think it's difficult. I completely understand your argument, Plum. I completely understand why it's tough. But my preference would be that if Illinois and Brad Underwood were MSU and Tom Izzo, that he would choose not to play Terrence Shannon in this case.
But I think Tom wouldn't have. I think you're right. I think Tom would have been like, yeah, you're not playing. I think he would have.
You're on the team.
Decision.
You can come to practice. You can sit there, but I'm not putting you in the game.
Yeah.
I think too, Greg, you point to something that, and this kind of ties back to a great number of things we've talked about in this off Grand River and what we've talked about in weeks past, but that a key distinction between, say, professional sports and college sports is this collective ownership that we have. And so you talk about donning the green and white and representing your university. There's a difference between being a Detroit Lions fan, and I don't mean to nit at the decades of suffering that Lions fans have earned a feeling of collectiveness to it.
Finally, Jonesy, bring the real suffering into the conversation.
But I just mean to say that there's ways in which we attach ourselves to the logo as alums that are different than choosing to buy into a professional franchise. And so there is an attachment to the value of my degree based upon the reputation of my university, right? There's and we as a university took some hits for a great number of years and well-earned hits. But it's what's difficult about the place that we're in is that this idea of your right to wear the logo, your right to make money based upon the logo that's on the front of your jersey, seems to forget that the reason that logo has any value in the first place is because you churned out diplomas that tie people back to a place that you can talk about our irrational fandom, but it's actually our irrational love of the school. Like the football is just merely an extension of everything else that we loved about our time at MSU. Like we don't do this podcast solely because we're sports nuts. We love the school. So it'll be interesting as we talk NIL, as we talk, but this conversation is just another extension of it, that he was representing alums of the University of Illinois, and I don't know that as an alum I would be particularly thrilled. And I'm not, I guess I don't know that I feel right saying that I'm happy for him, but like 12 people said he was not guilty. 12 people said that. So like there's some solace he should take in that. And so anyway, fun conversation. Should we do some Twitter questions?
We should, but before we do that, I was your Twitter question raider last week, so I'm going to release my top 4.
Did you put the rest in the spreadsheet yet?
No, I did not. That sounds like actual work. And we'll do that, and then we'll release it on Twitter this week, and everyone will rejoice, and it'll be great. So we need to split up the content, and that's something that you've never understood, Mike Jones. But I'm going to make us do that here today. It's not. This is not that I'm being lazy. It's virtuous, in fact, and better for the podcast in the long run. So my top 4, in 4th place, for giving us the opportunity, which I think we will always appreciate, to talk about our bits and our comedy and what we like about the podcast so much. Thomas Zambiasi, 4th place. Fantastic question about which of our bits is the longest running and most tired, I assume was part of that question as well. In 3rd place, Spartan 18770, for asking good and real sports questions on a what pretends to be sports podcast, even in the summer. So, and just to acknowledge that and appreciate it for a moment. 3rd place, Spartan 18770, bronze medal. In 2nd place, probably with the best question of the week, I think, about betting which one of our basketball student athletes would have been most likely to be caught betting on one of their games over the years. Jess Sipperly out of Chicago gets 2nd place for the betting question, and not for the Chicago music venue stuff where she and Plum can just talk and be buddies live on the podcast. Man, not that. It's the betting question. And first, for pointing out to everyone the truth about hot dogs and buns in America, and reminding everyone that we should be buying Kogel's Viennas. Sports Ball Joey, #1 gold medal in recognition of what I think is probably, I don't know, Plum, what do you think? Flint Vehicle City, Kogel's, is it its greatest contribution to the world?
It has to be. Fuck Buick. It's gotta be the Kogel. Classic Vienna for me, please.
Before we get started, I got a tribute to Greg I forgot about. 1 second.
Can't wait to see what this is going to be.
Yeah, neither can our viewers.
On the edge of our seats.
Anyone watching from home is just staring at a chair.
Yeah, well, we're doing this. Are we seeing Guster anywhere this summer? What's our Guster plan?
We were going to fly somewhere, and then we chose not to because I have a buddy pass on Delta or whatever companion pass that's going to expire in August, and we just can't really go anywhere in July that they're playing where the tickets aren't already sold out.
So what are we going to do with that buddy pass instead? What's the plan?
I don't know. We haven't decided. Folks, if you got a place that we should go that's cheap, go ahead and send me a Twitter message.
Do you want to join us in Montreal, in Quebec City? We're going to spend some time over in the Great White North.
When are you going?
Well, let's take this conversation offline. I didn't know you were looking to burn companion pass.
Maybe. Wait, it won't go international. It's domestic 48. But I could get up to Burlington, Vermont.
And then just abscond across the border. All right.
Maybe Buffalo would be a little bit quicker.
I think it's Burlington, but we'll look. We're going to look into this.
Okay. Yeah.
Greg,
This
I
won't
have a
happen,
Christmas
but
ale for you.
There it
Oh,
is.
how much? Wait, Jonesy, how much should we pay for this
What?
Christmas ale? That's the most important part of a Christmas ale.
If it's been sitting in the fridge since Christmas,
It's still
It's
good.
technically
That's
free.
still good in
It's
my
still
book.
good.
and it's 10%, so everyone watch out.
Christmas ales do tend to be good ABV per dollar
Yeah.
value. So highly recommend. All right. So with the Christmas ale christened, Jonesy, shall we kick off Twitter questions with Spartan 1963?
Let's do it.
Spartan 1963 asks, does the J in Todd J. Anson stand for jerk or jackass?
Oh.
Are you guys familiar with this story? Are you up on this?
I'm
I'm
not.
not up
The-
on Todd J. Anson. No, I feel very
the
left out
doxing
right now.
that took place. Well, I'm
No.
going to let you go ahead and Google. Just do a quick Todd J. Anson Google.
We already made the people wait for you to go get your Christmas ale. Do you want to just explain it to us real quick?
He's the vice president or vice chairman of the CMU Board of Trustees. And
Oh.
you'll never guess, he has a Twitter account.
I bet I'm not going to like some of the content from that Twitter account.
Well, it's been deleted since he's been discovered as Big Ol' Michigan Troll.
Oh,
Big ol' Michigan Troll.
Oh. I guess that's slightly better than what I was thinking at first, given computer crimes committed at the University of Michigan. And that's where my brain went first. But tell me more about Todd J. Anson and his antics online.
I mean, he's the sort of your prototypical rage fan who, 49-0 Shardy, like your education sucks. I don't know. What are their other jokes?
Fun.
But yeah, he is that guy in real life and is the vice chair of the Board of Trustees of Central Michigan University, which is interesting for obvious reasons. So
I want to know who he bought his vacuum from. That's the question that I'm asking right now.
Graham's been getting questions. Apparently, the LSJ is working the story. So, Graham, if you're listening, we demand to be the first podcast you come talk to after that story comes out.
Not
You
your
don't go to
own.
Sheehan. Not
Unacceptable.
going to Sheehan. Yeah.
Great.
So-
Well, I do love this. It brings down the veil a little bit. You assume that people in these types of positions have better things to do. And so often in my job, I've learned this, and my life generally, I've learned this. People that are in these positions of power are not special. They don't have something that you don't have, and they are themselves idiots, even if they're running some kind of health clinic in Ypsilanti. Anyway, next
Well,
up,
speaking of idiots,
1963.
people who don't know how FOIA works, Alan Haller. Does Alan Haller know we have a baseball program?
This is the
No.
question that's been coming up over and over and over again. It does seem like, what's the wait, Alan? Like, why?
Yep.
Why wait?
Particularly when
Is
you
it
gave out the
because-
gold watch in softball, right?
Yeah. And
Like-
particularly because we know you're not hiring any coaches that are currently participating in the college baseball World Series. Like, that's not where the coaching staff is going to come from. It's some coach in the MAC right now or something like that. It's so why are we putting this off for, I guess, another year?
Quick question for you both, though. If MSU was, what are our honest expectations of MSU baseball competing?
I just, for these types of sports that do seem to be so regional and so like specific to where your program is, I want to see competitiveness in conference. Like if you,
That's right.
If you,
That's good.
If you can't go beat Vanderbilt, I don't care about that. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand it. But I do need you to be competitive. I need you to be participating in your own conference tournament at least half of the time. So,
but does that include
Boss
winning?
is not up to that standard. Yeah. I'm saying win in conference. That's what I care about.
Conference
in these types of
competitiveness.
sports.
That's right. That's the answer.
I guess I'm just saying that if your plan isn't to win the Big Ten and go to the College World Series, then maybe we fill it in like we did the pool. Like if you're not willing to, what's the point? If unless you're doing this to provide academic opportunities to people, in which case say that, but then you can't cut swim, like and also say, like if you're not going to compete, I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah. As someone that lives within sound distance of the baseball diamond on campus, I rather like having it there. So I disagree with you, Jonesy, on those terms.
It's a way for the water to escape the river.
Yes, because it's a nice little area where the red cedar can crest and kind of hang out for like 4 or 5 days a year. And it's a place where I can hear the PA announcer while I'm, doing weeding. We all know I'm not weeding the yard.
Yeah, that's not it.
Happening.
Nope, that's not it.
While I'm walking to Crunchies or something like that, that's much more likely to be happening.
Likely.
And I like that. That's part of the fabric of East Lansing. And I support baseball for that reason and do not support swimming, which is a sport that I cannot hear while I'm walking around downtown. So it can be canceled. Good day.
Consistency. All right, let's go to likely first placed questioner for this week, Beth Amaro. Question 1 for Michael Jones. Please rank in order from most annoying to least annoying: multi-factor authentication, pickleball fanatics, anything coming out of the mouths of Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark, Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh. In this particular moment, I don't know about anything coming out of the mouths of people about Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark. Is
okay.
for
I
sure
was going to
number.
say that. Yep.
Good at it.
Multi-factor authentication, though it's necessary.
Yeah.
Sure, we can agree that, but it can still be annoying.
Just don't log me out so fast.
No one gets hacked in Hawaii, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I'm learning with this question.
That feels particularly local to Beth is pickleball fanatics. If there was somewhere that it was really out of control, Hawaii.
It's got to be Hawaii. It's got to be Hawaii. Yeah. Sorry about that, Beth. I will cancel my pickleball trip.
Plum, question number 2. Name one of your personal or professional accomplishments that is worthy of lifetime residuals and identify from whom you would collect.
They don't listen to the pod, but it has to be my local Detroit gay friends who have to hear me talk about my service in the Peace Corps all the time and cannot stand it.
We all do, buddy.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, that only extends to your local gay friends.
Do I talk about it on the pod? Listen, it should be. I should be getting residuals from you all for my honors college attendance, and it should be my Peace Corps service from my Detroit gay friends. That is what I should be getting lifetime residuals for, in copious amounts.
Not to Beth, not to interrupt your grinding on this, but we do actually get lifetime residuals on this podcast.
Yes, we do.
We actually do get residuals on some of the work that we've done and some of our accomplishments, which
in the tens of cents. Beth, in the tens of cents. So,
I tried to pull MGMT up real quick, but
you couldn't do it. I'm sorry for all of us for that one.
A Pride commercial from Comcast came up.
See, and won't they virtue signal? Last question from Beth. Kevin, I'm not much for conspiracy theories, but I have to ask, what are the chances the Celtics did not throw game 4?
I think if you're going to throw it, you don't throw it to the tune of 40 points. You know, like if you're going to try to lose it, you try to keep it a little bit close. You're going to try to make it look like maybe you're not throwing it. When you get drubbed by 40, you got drubbed by 40. But they are currently up by 20 at halftime, even though Xavier Tillman has not entered the game yet. So Very happy for Xavier Tillman. He will very likely, knock on wood, get a ring here, but he has not yet played in this game.
Very good.
Next up, Kevin Greck, Alex Plum, you have to kill this is from Tom Zambiasi, you have to kill the vibe at Crunchies. What song are you singing for karaoke?
Wait, this is for me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Probably, I should be coming up with something faster than this. Let's do. I don't know. I don't want to say that. I was going to say "Jesus on the Radio" by Guster, but I think people actually might like that. I don't really know. Probably. No, I think they'll. I think all of my go-to standards, which are generally duets, like Fievel Goes West, American Tail, Somewhere Out There, Linda Ronstadt, Peebo Bryson. James Ingram, rather. Sorry.
No one asked what your go-tos were. You want to kill the vibe. What are you going to sing?
I don't know. That would probably be it. Maybe the Das Deutsche Lied, the German national anthem.
Yeah, that kills the vibe.
That would do it. Yeah, that would work.
All right. I just assume me singing wouldn't really be ideal, but Das Deutsche Lied should certainly do the job. All right.
The good news about singing in German, it all sounds like hate.
Well, and it often is. Last up from Thomas for the week for KG. Why is MSU insistent on that self-driving bus being a thing instead of just working with CATA to improve the service on and around campus?
Yeah, I do not know. Like, I'm pretty sure that this is just them being like, look at us, we can do self-driving as well, even though, like, no one cares. Like, truly no one cares.
Yeah,
I'm with you on this, Thomas. Just focus on the stuff, make it work better. It's a little line item in my taxes every 6 months, and I would like to see a little bit more for that money, Kata. And self-driving is just not moving the needle.
This could be one of your platforms when you unsuccessfully run to unseat Rima Vassar on the board in 6 to 8 years.
Looking forward to that. The Kata platform. People can't get enough. Next up from Jason Fry, Jonesy, what is a worse background on a video? Jones, whatever that is, or the wood paneling at a no longer to be named restaurant establishment? You seem to
Jason,
kind of have a
in
bit
advance of your question.
Look at that.
Wow, that's good. That's clever. This came together well.
You're bullying. Go fuck yourself.
Oh, hurtful.
Very hurtful. That is our keeper of the history here. You know, this is our guy with the pen.
Honestly,
be
was
nice
Jason
to Jason.
Asking questions when we had that sponsor?
I assume that he goes back and he re-listens to several episodes per week just to keep all of the history together. And finally from Jason Fry, Plum, we'll send this to you. Is it true that Hondo is back on the MSU beat? How upset is he that Scotty Hazelton is no longer on the coaching staff for them to swap stories about their January 6th escapades?
I had to... this will just be a moment of unsurprising honesty for me. I had to call Michael when this came back, that he was back on the beat. And I was like, I know I don't like him, but I don't know why. And I'm not fully sure I know who he is. Mike spent time explaining this. And for me now to tell you all, I still don't remember who he is, but I do know that I still don't like him. Is really all I can say about that. If he is a January 6th truther, and I have no reason to doubt that he isn't, I will just say good for him and fuck all of us.
Would it surprise you to find out that Graham intimated that Hondo coincidentally left the beat when there was a black head coach and then came back as soon as there was not a black head coach?
Cool. That's really, really cool. Well, I don't know.
Plum, you are better at languages. I'm going to and you gave this rule, so I'm going to insist that you read both of Sports Ball Joey's questions.
I don't speak French, so this is going to be a lot of fun.
I gave the translation.
Yeah, I don't. Here we go. Pourquoi personne ne pose des questions dans une autre langue? D'après ma compréhension du règlement officiel, si nous posons une question dans la langue de l'enseignant et que c'est le bon, il y a des points bonus à attribuer.
Translated, why doesn't anyone ask questions in another language? From my understanding of the official rules, if we ask a question in the language of the week and it's correct, there are bonus points to be awarded.
I made the rules. I have to live by the rules.
And Jason Fry, watch out. Sports Ball Joey is coming for your historian hat.
and
it's
French.
But
someone's
yeah,
ready to go to Montreal.
Yeah, really. They may already be there. But here's if we ask a question in the language of the week and it's correct, I don't know what that means. And it's correct.
You said you have to ask the question in the language, in a foreign language, and if it's the correct language for that week, which you won't tell them in advance what language it is, then they get bonus points.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I wish you had gone with Polish for your second question.
Oh,
it was
Polish
this week.
Well, I guess we don't need to read this next question in French then. So
I was actually going to try to put it through a Polish translator, but I can't definitely pronounce Polish, so I'm not going to do
that. All right, Plum. Between the two, would you rather interview Mel over the phone while he relaxes, or observe LSU football practice from a scissor lift?
Oh, I really enjoy this. I'm tickled. I am tickled by this one.
And dear listener, that was in French. It was provided in French.
That was fully in French. I'm actually impressed. I will give you 2 bonus points for this week, Joey, because of that. I don't know the answer to that. I would say Mel over the phone. Yeah, I'm going to take Mel over the phone. I think I want to hear it. I want to know what it sounds like. I think I deserve that. I think we all do. Plus,
do you think it sounds weird though?
It's confident? Definitely. It's wet. It's wetter than it should be. For fucking sure, it is wetter than it should be. But the thing is, the LSU football from the scissor lift, I would be rooting for it to collapse, and I don't want to die.
For the irony.
So, yeah, not just for the irony. So that's kind of why I think.
But you would see Brian Kelly on one of those 360 photo video things, and you'd be like, "Nope, put me on the scissor lift. Put me on the scissor lift as soon as possible."
Yep, and I don't want him to get another notch in his belt. Mm-hmm. So, all right, great job, Sports Ball, Jay. All right, next up from Cedar Village Bagel for Michael Jones. Which MSU athlete of years past would have the 1 best NIL earnings? 2 most unique NIL opportunities.
All right. This is tough. I'm gonna for most unique NIL opportunities, I'm gonna go with a bit of we're gonna rewind present day to some history. Jeff Smoker, hands down.
Yeah.
If marijuana was legal in his day, would have made a killing.
Yep.
Best NIL earnings, though, it's hard to believe that if we adjusted dollars that Mateen Cleaves would not have actually. I mean, if we're being really honest, Cassius maybe.
Connor Cook, senior year Connor Cook.
Yeah.
Dude, well, I guess I'm trying to think of who would have been paid by the collective, but then who would have also been able to net the University Wiener dollars as well. I don't know that Connor Cook's showing up for a commercial.
Yeah. What about Magic, though?
Oh, yeah, I guess if you're going all the way back, sure.
Well,
Any argument could be won by. What about Magic?
I don't know
though?
that Magic was
His
the
name
first
is
year that the
Magic.
tournament expanded, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know that he had the national celebrity in the same way until he got to the Lakers.
Oh, all right.
I mean,
No, that's fair.
his game against Indiana State is still the most watched college basketball game of all time, maybe
Ever.
basketball game of all time. So I think he had the celebrity.
That's
Plus, they had the name Magic.
It was a simpler time where narratives were fed to you.
Well done, you.
All right.
Next up from Cedar Village Bagel. Go ahead, Jones.
Go ahead, Greg.
I'll defer to. Okay. If you didn't go to MSU, which Big Ten school would you otherwise like to have attended? Adding, I think Wisconsin would have been a great time.
Probably Northwestern, because I think I would have liked to have lived in Chicago, and I never did.
Evanston.
It's close enough.
Yeah. Also,
on the water.
What a convenience that it's also Northwestern that happens to be in Chicago, and that's why Plum chose it, was the Chicago angle and not Northwestern. It's almost as if maybe someone was in the honors college at MSU. Almost.
No.
Almost.
If it were academics, it would have been Rutgers. It would have been Piscataway, New Jersey for me, and the elite near Ivy League status of Rutgers.
This is a really hard
What do you
question.
have?
I think Ohio State might be my answer.
Oh.
It is really
Yucky.
dumb that if you grow up in the state of Michigan, even if you're not a Michigan fan, you still don't apply to Ohio State, and you still just sort of don't participate in that.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. My answer to this question was going to be Indiana, which is also horrible in its own ways. Forks down today, forks down tomorrow, forks down forever. But like,
I don't want to suck at sports. I don't want to suck at sports.
Yeah.
I want someone who's competitive. So I'm not going to pick Indiana. So maybe Iowa, but you're playing for sort of a false championship.
But didn't you want to go to GW when you were in high school?
No,
Yeah,
but
he did.
You're asking right now. You're asking me right now. Yes, I, of course. The greatest thing that ever happened to me in life was that my parents said we're not going to help you with that school to go there, because I'm so thankful that I went to Michigan State.
Yeah.
I do this now, but like,
all right.
I'm not going to pick Purdue.
No, like truly, no one's going to pick Purdue.
Gross.
No one. Nor will anyone pick Illinois.
And I can't pick Wisconsin in good conscience because their teams are altogether too white.
Yeah, and also
Minnesota.
Cedar Village
Minnesota
Bagel,
would be good.
But you want to be good at sports.
Hockey.
Well,
Still,
all right.
hasn't won.
Good.
You still
job,
go
Bagel.
to the school that's won the most recent hockey national championship in the Big Ten.
You know what?
So
Yeah, you know what? Cedar Village Bagel, this is a shit question. I went to the right school. I'm not going to another school.
No, it was a good question. It got us talking. Nonetheless, we move to Kate Wall, who asks Kevin, would you rather win a natty in football and basketball once a decade for the rest of your life, or until the NCAA dissolves, whichever comes first? Or Michigan basketball and football teams are stripped of all past titles and shut down for the same period with no effect on MSU's performance?
You can still hate Michigan basketball and football and still choose number one. Like, obviously, I want the serotonin hit in my idiot simian brain. I want to see my team win and win a lot. And the answer will always be, I want my team to do winning. I do enjoy watching Michigan basketball and football lose. That's fun, but it's not exactly the same chemicals as watching my team win.
Yeah.
So that's my choice. And it's not even close to me.
Yeah.
But do you guys disagree?
No. Those are the right answers.
Okay.
Worst news ever when we played Bama.
Next up from Maxwell, Jonesy, which is a bigger public hazard? Literally catapulting Sparty into Spartan Stadium or letting U of M's coaching staff drive themselves to their games?
I want to shout out Maxwell Klitsky because he's a great follow and provides great film statistical insights. Like, you should follow him, and then to just follow it up with this little cherry. And Spartan Stadium is sometimes empty, but U of M's coaching staff always needs to drive. So it's U of M's coaching staff.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. That is 100% correct.
Next up, Joe Ashworth. Plum, will you please help me settle on an anonymous Twitter persona for future MSU shitposting? Nicknames I've considered thus far: mild-mannered lower bow dude, Papa Pine Tree, and Mike Jones 3.0. Plum, it's got to be something with wet hay, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think you've missed a real opportunity here, Joe. I think something like Ashy Hay or
Wet Hay Heathen,
Wet Hayworth. You know, something like that could have worked well for you here. So I'm going to deduct 4 points from you this week and next week because of the lost opportunity here.
I will say, even worse than that is suggesting that the world needs another Mike Jones. Like, Jesus Christ. Like 3.0? Are you serious? Like, it's
could not agree more.
Trillion point oh. My word. Next up from Joe Ashworth, Jonesy, in recent stories, I've noticed more frequent mention of recruits building close relationship to graduate assistant coaches or support staff. Does this reflect anything about Smith's organization and proper culture, or is it just the reality of a staffing arms race in college football? This is an interesting question. Joe Ashworth, well done. I think I'm not rating this week, but I think you've redeemed yourself here.
That's a really great question. I don't know that it has anything to do with an arms race, though, that they're spending more time with a GA. I do think that says something, though, about what Jonathan Smith's staff trusts in their GAs and assistant coaches. And so for that reason, I do think it says something more about Smith's organization, because it's not like the number of support staff allowed changed substantially it didn't change at all between Mel Tucker and Jonathan Smith. And indeed, if you'll recall, Joe, Jonathan Smith was told how many staff he could have, and he said, "Oh, that's too many." So I think this says more about Jonathan Smith than it does anything else, that assistant coaches, the assistants to the assistant coaches, are trusted to sell the program. Plum, other than going suns out, guns out, Joe asks, when it's going to be unbearably hot, how do you beat the heat?
We go to the basement. We don't have air conditioning in this house. We have a couple window units. I've got one blaring right now, deeply inefficiently. So yes, that's it. We grilled outside today, and then we will be retreating to the basement where it is a balmy, not 88 degrees.
Wow. So you came upstairs and you recorded upstairs for us. You faced the heat. Wow. Yep. I had no idea. Yep. The commitment.
Well, I didn't want to get divorced. I mean, that was the bigger trade-off here, I guess.
Yeah.
So
fair.
I also have no AC. Close your windows when it's hotter outside than it is inside.
That's what we did. Yeah, it's much cooler inside the house, even without the AC. Yeah,
and then open Jason them as soon as it gets cooler.
Yeah,
and just close your blinds. Also a pro tip: cold showers.
Have a 100-year-old oak tree hang over your house. Sure, your insurance premiums are going to be astronomical, but save you 10 degrees.
There you go.
So, yeah. The previous owners cut down a giant pine tree that blocked out the setting sun, like 3 to 7 p.m.
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh,
Very
is,
bad.
Is Greg moving in like a million speed for you too?
I wasn't going to bring it up, but what I love about it is that Greg's video, for some reason, is on what has to be a 30-second delay, and occasionally,
it's worse for me.
Okay, and occasionally it will fast forward all the way, and so I'll be talking and then I'll stop because your mouth is moving, but then I'm like, but I don't hear him, and then I'll just see you do this, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're not making noise. So it's
Dear
very
listener,
confusing.
you won't get any of this because this will all net out fine at the end. Anyway,
I hope it doesn't.
Spartan
I hope they all
18770 asks, Greg, was Jeremy Langford the best MSU college running back in the D'Antonio era?
I mean, I know Spartan 18770 is, you want to be like, Le'Veon Bell, meh. But I saw both guys every game that they played. But is Javon Ringer really D'Antonio era? I consider him John L's gift to the program in the long term.
Yeah.
Like Ardell.
Or what's his name? Who is number 5? Who was taken in the second round? Wide receiver.
No, Devin Thomas. Devin Thomas is who
Devin
I'm
Thomas.
thinking of,
No, you're thinking of John Goss. You're thinking of John Goss.
And that's
John L. Smith's real gift to the program.
Opening our wrists and letting the darkness take us. John Goss. Anyway, the answer is Le'Veon Bell, having watched every one of the games that both of them played. But Jeremy Langford definitely underappreciated as a pro. Did a great job in his time with I think the Bears in particular. So I get where you're coming from, Spartan 18770, but not quite there. Next up,
and
Jonesy.
real quick, just dear listeners, I want you to know that whatever you've heard Plum say about student athletes on this podcast, I want you to be so aware that it pales in comparison to anything he said about John Goss. Like,
that's true.
The shit he said about John Goss was vile and offensive.
He was truly like
it shocked me. I remember
it's like
acts
you do
that
know
his
that
classmates
John Goss is a human being on the planet.
No,
right?
he did, because the acts that he said would be wrought upon John Goss in the Erickson Kiva were unspeakable. Anyway, moving on. Greg, you were saying.
That's on John Goss. I want to be really explicit about this. I want to be really explicit.
He brought this on himself. Finally, from Spartan 18770, do you agree? Homeowners are just glorified mobile home owners. We never truly own the land, i.e. property taxes, so we can be kicked out of our homes if we fail to pay the land taxes, just like trailer park residents.
If you don't pay your registration fee on your
To
car,
live in a van.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you don't pay your registration fee,
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
It. I think this is a weak argument.
I'm glad we're having the same experience with Greg.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do we ask number 2 about MSU's not lost to Notre Dame in 2013? What lack of painful loss prevented them from winning the season? Would that lack of painful? Okay. I think they still would have won. That was a great team, elite team.
I think it's right.
2 questions. Next up from Jess Sip. 2 questions and 1 answer. What would you consider a successful overall record in Jonathan Smith's first season? Kevin Grack.
I'm gonna go 7-5. 6-6, 7-5. That's a successful. I'm gonna go 7-5. I'm gonna stick to winning record 7-5.
Yeah, over-runners at 4.5. That's crushing it. So, next up from Jess Sip, with a super hot summer weekend behind us, says you, Jess.
Yeah,
It is
ahead of us,
scorching
Jess.
hot.
Shit.
I'm not going to see lower than 90 for the next 7
Correct.
days.
Yeah.
What's the most satisfying beer to crack open? I'll assure you it's not a Christmas ale. And yes, Plum, I live in Chicago. Hit me up anytime.
All right, Jay, I'm going to do it. And I think it's got to be, I had a couple of Coors Lights this past weekend at my high school 20th anniversary, which I did go to. And it was quite refreshing. And I like a Coors Light. I do. I like a Coors Banquet. But I think on a hot day, a Coors Light is pretty good. Also, what's the lighter Oberon that they're making in the lighter blue can? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oberon Eclipse. Is that what it's called?
Yes,
Private
the
equity.
Oberon Eclipse. That's a pretty easy sipper. Yeah.
Jessup.
Oh, look what's been done.
All right, Greg.
Look at it.
Next up, Matt Sheehan. Zeke came down with a stomach bug during the second quarter. Too many Brody Cafe milkshakes before the game.
Yep.
What person are you throwing out there as his replacement to catch frisbees at halftime? And why is it Matt Sheehan with fireball shooters?
I mean, that's the obvious answer. Sheehan, you are the answer to your own question. I imagine that's why you posited it. And with every successful catch, the whole stadium pops a fireball for the sommelier himself.
This is why he's the king of content.
Yep.
Well, it's true, but there's another reason. It's because there isn't a more golden retriever human on the planet than Matt Sheehan, and so I think in those respects, it does sort of bear out. Affable, I assume loyal, shaggy, dumb. Let's not ever understate how dumb a golden retriever is.
Right.
No offense. Yes, offense. So I don't know. I don't think that's that far off.
Someone's a little bit salty about not being invited on the most recently.
I might get over it
here.
one day, but not before I rank him last on this week's Twitter question competition.
Next up,
Greg,
from the
who are
Key
you throwing out
Ski.
there? Oh, all right.
I'm moving on. Next up from the Key Ski, Jonesy, why is the Keith Nickel lateral to Cunningham in the Big Ten Championship not remembered more often?
What year was that?
I think that would have been 15, right? 15? Sounds right.
It's Ohio State.
Yeah,
So we
I think
played.
so.
Wait, no. I don't know that it was.
It doesn't matter? I mean, he's asking about generally. Does it matter exactly what year this happened?
It doesn't, and isn't that proving the point that no one remembers when it happened or why it happened or that it happened? I mean,
this
so Keith
is
Ski.
no.
13.
Oh God! All right.
No. Big Ten title game 2011.
Mm.
So we lost.
Oh, I was coming home from the Peace Corps in 2011.
It was against
Royalty.
it was against the game where that dumb motherfucker flopped on the punt.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
lost.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why it's not remembered because all I remember is R.J. Shelton taking it to the house and that dude celebrating, the punter celebrating his flop on the sideline.
It wasn't R.J. Shelton. It was.
You're right.
85. Keyshawn Martin is who you're talking
Yes,
about.
thank you. You're right. I'm so sorry.
Who does
So,
not
great
get enough
question.
mention on this podcast, by the way. Keyshawn Martin should be getting a lot more time on this podcast.
Yeah, if
He
it
was
weren't for Jaden
fantastic.
Reed, he'd be the last time we had a great special teams returner.
Mhm.
But it's an incredible play. Like if dear listener, if you've not seen this, it is one of the coolest plays I've seen in all of college football. But it was in a loss,
Yeah.
and so that's in a heart wrenching loss that we shouldn't have lost. So that's why. Next up from the Key Ski, Alex Plum, would you rather sit through Thanksgiving dinner sober while listening to an uncle's insane political rant or take too many gummies and get existential and have it recorded?
Oh no, I'd have to do the. Oh god, no, I'd have to do the insane political rant because, as you both know, I don't have to be drunk to be insane, and I think I could match. I think I could match the energy. But yeah, the weed stuff gets me all fucked up, and too many gummies. That's a true, like, I might never recover from that shit.
And when Plum says, as a gay Christian, what do you say back to that? You have no response.
You're just like computing.
You've like cornered so many.
Yep.
Ally.
Help me.
Next up, Ali asks, Greg, following up on my cannibalism theme,
oh my God.
How would you prepare your co-hosts? Would you grill Jonesy hot and fast? A nice braise for Greg, a plum stir fry.
I mean, I think you've got to boil me to get anything out. It's like
in real time.
That's so true.
It's like after you
cut
cut everything off the bone and then you throw everything in a stock pot to try to get the rest of it. That's how you
leach the bones. Yeah, that sounds right.
Greg's best for a bone broth.
A bone broth.
Exactly.
Honestly, though, there could be something there.
Yeah, Plum's been looking for that bone broth for some time, and it has evaded him. Plum's a low and slow, though. There's no doubt about that. I'd put you in a crock pot. And Jonesy, I would, to honor you, I would put you in the smoker. And I would let you, as I put you down like a dog, I would let you choose the wood chips that you smoke on. You could be like,
I cannot imagine any more insulting. Not imagining choosing your own death. All right. Next up from Beppe Plum. Please play my plum.ai question here. I sent it to Plum before
he did.
I left to travel, but it didn't make the cut last week. This was made on the anesthesia fog. Always a win. All right, here we go.
Are you going to literally play it right now as opposed to just put the link in the...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, he is.
Oh, yeah.
This is awesome.
All right, I'm going to read the DM question myself. All right.
My lord and my god. This is insane. That's one with the absolute best Twitter question ever. End the show. Who wins all things in life? He asks, wait for it, this is grand. My prodigy asks, in Chinese the words ni, fa, and ma are question particles. In Japanese we use kak, so when speaking of horse in Spanish, could we use a combo of Chinese and Japanese words to ask the horse mama kaka? Because he does. He sucks poop. Now you know.
It is
I'm haunted.
So many things in that. First, his unparalleled ability to work horse into everything. Second, that he was only recently having been under general anesthesia. Third, that he chose the gayest avatar he could have for me during Pride Month.
Not an ally. I found out last week. Not an ally.
Yeah. So great. So this is good. I think this is great. I think this is great. I love this.
Next up, number 2, rant of the week, flying internationally. Look, it's not my fault you tried to smuggle a condom of Coke in your arse and it burst. I couldn't have to wait 6 hours for that. I already live in Tennessee for 18 years because of a... Never mind. I'll save that for a story worth telling for Couch in the Rube.
Very good. It's true, though. Yeah, that would be a bummer. That would be ass full of cocaine. That body's got to absorb that pretty quick through the anal cavity, I think, right?
I would think, yeah.
That might be that might be a medical emergency, it turns out.
It's a narrow fit. I don't know that they're going to have that much bleeding there to really make it
Well, remember the anus absorbs, so if there's any liquid in there at all,
I don't remember that.
You
should. Oh, that's the vodka soaked tampon situation.
Now you remember.
Tampons don't go in the anus, Michael. I know that
high school students did this. I was told about the Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the public education system has clearly failed you, but it's great. I appreciate that you tried to contribute to this question in some way. I can't wait to smoke you over apple chips. Next up, and finally from
Cherry,
Maple
please.
Leaf. Cherry, fine. There you go. The Oilers fan signed read, quote, "So you're saying there's a chance, and we will learn if indeed there's a chance Tuesday night. So which one of you could possibly add some nuance to the excitement that is a possible Canadian Stanley Cup win?" You guys
I
following?
don't know anything.
I know
don't
that the
honestly
Oilers are
know
really
anything.
excited about their female fans this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know that they're also down, right, to Florida. Like they were.
When was the
down
last
3-0.
time? When was the last time a Canadian team won the cup?
It's been a long time.
Has it?
Yes, I
Okay.
think because the Lightning have been winning it. The Avalanche won it. Who else has won?
Well,
it?
Panthers win it at some point in time. Didn't ironically two Florida teams, the place that there's no ice.
Not good. That is not good. And honestly, the Canadians deserve it. I mean, that's it. Frankly, if this is true, that's very upsetting.
How have you not dominated the sport?
It's your sport.
The place that all of these
Your
players
sport.
grew up. Yes. Insane.
It is actually.
Oh my
this is
God!
something
The
that's-
Montreal Canadiens beat the LA Kings 4-1 in the '93 Cup final.
The
How is
Habs
it-
are the most recent to win it.
Wow!
Jesus.
Wait, is there still a team in Montreal?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Canadians
Yeah.
are still there.
They're still there?
do you mean?
Great. Okay. I thought for some reason they left. I'm thinking of the Expos. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Different sport, equal TV rankings. But either way, it's a shame. There's no reason that the Maple Leafs, the Toronto team, the Toronto Leafs could not dominate this sport. They should be able to dominate this sport. Everyone should want to live in such a multicultural, beautiful place and be in hockey's birthplace. Next question from Monopoly. Great questions, and I mean great, come to me during the week, and I do not write them down. And here I struggle to invent the wit and wisdom that is me. And how many ands are in this? And I've come up with wondering which schools will automatically qualify for the 5 highest ranked teams in the new college football playoff format. Monopoly, ampersands were doing the Lord's work in this question.
Yeah, don't say that you struggle to invent the wit and wisdom that is you. Don't say that about yourself. I think it's
1,
evident
2,
here.
3, 4, 5 ampersands, Monopoly. 5 ampersands.
Let's let the Raider for this week take this one. Plum. Monopoly for you.
I don't know what she's asking. There's way too much preamble here. I can't even read it all. I don't know. And I've come up with wondering which schools will automatically qualify for the 5 highest ranked teams. Like, instead of 4, did you mean as the 5 highest ranked teams? Because the way it's worded here, it's unanswerable.
Winner of the Big 10, winner of the Big 12, winner of the ACC, winner of the SEC, and
Winner of the Pac-2. Go Pac-2. Got to be
All
the
right.
Pac-2.
Gentlemen, with that, in the off chance that he's listening, I'm going to give a Father's Day shout out to my dad, Cliff Jones.
Oh, Cliff Jones.
Master of gin.
And that's what I drank tonight, Cliff. That's what I drank tonight.
So happy belated dad. I love you to death. And gentlemen, to you, go green.
Go white. Oh, happy Father's Day, Michael.
Don't let my day overshadow your month.
What an ally.